This is where we come from, yeah, we did it. City on my back, I'm committed. This is where we come from, yeah, we made it. Now the whole team celebrating. We like, oh, 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 oh. They knew me for the old me. They can't stop me now, I'm with the home team. No beginner, I'm a winner. Took a couple losses, now I'm cooking, let me simmer. Yeah, tunnel vision, all I see is win, 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 win. This my city section where you been. We move faster alone, but go further together. We can weather any weather forever. A dream team, I done seen things. Confidence is on 100,000. I got family for miles, running up the mileage. Made it through some trials and some tribulations. Now me and the team, I had celebrating, yeah. This is where we come from, yeah, we did it. City on my back, I'm committed. This is where we come from, yeah, we made it. Now the whole team celebrating. We like, oh, 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 oh. You probably thought you knew. A new day is approaching, turn the gray skies into blue. I grew up on these same blocks, school of hard knocks. Had to get it on a hard top, took the hard shots, but we made it. Anticipated, highly decorated. The home team is winning, celebrated. The victory is all mine, and everything is alright. And you know how to see things, confidence is on 100,000. I got family for miles, running up the mileage. Made it through some trials and some tribulations. Now me and the team, I had celebrating, yeah. This is where we come from, yeah, we did it. City on my back, I'm committed. This is where we come from, yeah, we made it. Now the whole team celebrating. We like, oh, 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 oh.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Spike Kool-Aid for Friday, January 16, 2025, man. We are already 16 days into the year, which is insane, man. It's insane how fast time is moving. Hopefully, everybody is having a good start to the year, great start to the day and into the week. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Patty, Cam, what up, what up? Let me see. We got Nick. Michael, what's up? What's up? I'm in physics. You better get back in class, bro. Patty says, I want McDaniel for OC for my birthday. Yeah, that would be lit. That would be lit. Hey, just want to say, thank you guys for being here during the off season. It's weird, man, because we should be playing. It's weird. So I'm kind of still trying to figure out where we're supposed to be, because for the past 2 seasons, we have been playing football in January. So as a matter of fact, last year, we were gearing up to take on the Commanders. 2 years ago, we were gearing up to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so the offseason being here is very weird, in my opinion. It's like this weird place, man. But I will say that one of the things that I think is helping me is the fact that I have re-engaged, if you will, in basketball. I have begun watching not only the Pistons, but also other teams as well. So with Michigan having no UFL team this year, which kind of sucks, because last year we had a really big distraction between March and basically from free agency until OTAs. We had a distraction which was the Michigan Panthers, and now we don't have those anymore. And I will not personally be supporting the UFL at all. I'm not going to watch any UFL games or anything. The way that they did in Michigan was kind of bold, and it's kind of like when I was driving to these different cities for the games, I saw like the perfect place for the Panthers to play. So maybe we'll get a team back when they build that soccer stadium downtown. But until then we are stuck. So I have been watching the NBA, and I think that it's been moving pretty fast. Shout out to my guy, Danny. Let me see. No, this is a good show to listen to in class like I used to. What's up, Derek? What's going on? Lions posted highlights from 2016. I'm feeling nostalgic. You know what, y'all? It's kind of crazy because, like, oh my God, it's weird not having football. It's weird and like therapeutic at the same time. And yeah, so look, I'm going to need a few people. If you have the timestamp, I do have a video that somebody sent me. Shout out to the big homie. He sent it to us yesterday, and we brought it in about Amon-Ra St. Brown and what he said about free agency. And it was 4 words, but it was very, like, if you read in between the lines, the 4 words that were kind of a big deal. Ben Johnson has a chance by the time we do Monday's show, he could be going to the NFC Championship game. It's either going to be him or Matthew Stafford. So it's like the Lions are in a lose-lose situation, Lions fans, but maybe this is a blessing in disguise, and we'll talk about that a little later. I was young, so I thought we were so good back in 2016. What's up? Who says, bro, what up, Derek? Hey, I just want to say you're my favorite YouTuber, bro. You speak facts about our Lions team, and hopefully they make the right decisions to get this team to the Super Bowl. I appreciate that, man. It's always funny when y'all say, you know, who, like you say who your favorite Lions YouTuber is or whatever. It's kind of funny when you guys say that because there are a lot of choices out there, and I wouldn't be offended if I wasn't. Do you plan to watch the Detroit Tigers this year? You know what, bro? Bonzilla, I was actually watching them as the season ended. With the pitch counter, it's not that bad. I might actually start because as basketball is winding down, baseball will be winding up. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the playoffs start right when baseball starts. So I don't know if I'm going to watch every game because like last night's Pistons game, I did not see that. All I know is that how do you score 31 points in the fourth quarter? Like, combined. Like, you had all this scoring. You had almost 100. It was insane. You had like 90-something points through 3 quarters, and then you get to the fourth quarter and you can't score. Cade had a bad day yesterday, too. Look, it's too easy. Yeah, them guys are, look, they do a lot. They do a lot for, going to every game. And I couldn't imagine for 4 months straight the logistical nightmare it is to go to all those games. And I know Eric doesn't like to fly, so they drive a lot. You know what's funny to me, man, is when people, not funny, but I know people have a fear of flying and fear of like cruising. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. I've never been, I say a little prayer before we take off. And that's all I can do. So I always play back in my head, okay, when was the last time I heard like a major passenger plane crash? I will say when I was a child, I hope anybody's not flying anytime soon, but when I was a child, man, my dad actually was one of the people that had to respond to the I-94 crash back in the late 80s, man. So I remember that like it was yesterday. All right, so the Dodgers killed baseball for me. Yeah, I heard that they made a bunch of, like they made a move yesterday. They signed, or within the past couple of days, they signed somebody. And I don't know. I will say this. When the Tigers were playing in the playoffs and they were playing it was Seattle, right? That game that they went like 13 innings, that game took me halfway to Kansas City. When I left the house, they were just starting, and I drove, and by the time that game was over, Kansas City was like a 10.5-hour-ish drive. I was halfway there. It was crazy. All right, Steven in the building says, would you all trade Goff and a first rounder for Lamar Jackson? Don't give me an emotional answer. All right. Okay. All right, I guess we got our first segment. So we got a lot of debates about Jared Goff, the future of him as the Detroit Lions quarterback. This is not the first time we've heard this. Every year it's been the same thing. And we have somebody in the comment section that I think would be a great topic of discussion. Would you all trade Goff and a first rounder for Lamar Jackson? And I like he add the caveat, don't give me an emotional answer. All right. Well, I will tell you non-emotional. Okay. To the no. I do not want anything to do with Lamar Jackson. I have said that numerous times on Lion Syndicate. I am not a huge Lamar Jackson fan. Why would I not want Lamar Jackson? I'm going to tell you why. I prefer my quarterback in the pocket. I really, truly do. I'm sitting around and I'm watching these other quarterbacks, and it's not just Lamar Jackson. When you have a quarterback that runs are designed, you are making them susceptible to be injured, and not just a battered and bruised. We're talking about catastrophic injury. Lamar Jackson when he is not a passer, he is a runner. When he becomes a runner, he is fair game. You can destroy him if you wanted to. So for me, and plus, I'm going to say something that maybe a lot of you don't agree with. I think that Jared Goff is a phenomenal passer of the football. He might not be fancy. He might not do a lot of no looks, and he might not have the prettiest, longest deep ball. But to me, he is a phenomenal thrower of the football. Now, does he need maybe more than the above average offensive line? Absolutely. But then again, I mean, most quarterbacks need at least some offensive line. So for me, I am not only, if I take this is a non-emotional answer. I am not a fan of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, in addition to that, has not won anything except a couple of MVPs. That's about it. I am very curious to know what is going to happen with their new head coach. Will he finally get to the promised land? I don't know. This year was a disaster. I know it was either earlier this year or last year he led the league in whatever, highest completion percentage. I'm just not a fan of Lamar Jackson's game for my football team. That's it. So what are we thinking in the chat? Would you take? Let me see. No. Why would you trade a first rounder when you need an O-line? You don't believe Lamar needs a line. Lamar gets hurt every season. Lamar Jackson is hurt too much. Well, one of the reasons he's hurt too much is because he runs. Look at the quarterbacks who do run. You've got Josh Allen. You've got Lamar Jackson. Quarterbacks that run are asking for trouble. Now, if you are saying the ability to create a play when the pocket breaks down, to me, that's something different. Brock Purdy can do that, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks that don't run on a consistent basis that can create a play if the play and pocket breaks down. Jared Goff, that's not his strong game. He can do that, though. Would I love that? Absolutely. But I also do not mind someone who stands in the pocket, okay? Because let's be clear, Jared Goff is tough. Tough. One of the reasons Matthew Stafford was considered so tough is because he was getting absolutely destroyed. But Jared Goff was standing there with the best of them. But he will carve you up, absolutely carve you up if he has an offensive line. And if the receivers are on their spots, he will carve you up. So for me, I am not a fan of that. Plus, like was mentioned in the chat, this team needs a lot. We need a lot. And we are no longer in a position to give up a first-round pick. Those days are over. Those days are over. Brad Holmes blew those opportunities in 23 and 24. And now we need every pick that we can get. So I'm going to say no. Let me see. We had a strong offensive line. Goff is a surgeon in the pocket. Absolutely, Bonzilla. That's what I would say. And let me see. I never get the Goff hate. Who do you want? Okay, let me see. No, I want Goff. We just need an O-line, and defenses help talent over grit. You know what's funny is a few years ago when Lamar Jackson was up for a contract, because remember, Lamar went into his contract extension representing himself. There were a lot of Detroit Lions fans that wanted him. Now, granted, this was a few years ago. He was younger. He was a different player, like the same but different. Maybe not, but every year he pretty much get hurt. One of those reasons is because he's always running. And it's not just like run, pick up a few yards, go out of bounds. It's like spinning and juking and trying to be a running back. And to me, but all of that being said, he's never won anything. Jared Goff has been further than him. He's got 2 MVPs and some division titles, right? That's about it. So I am going to say no, I would pass on Lamar Jackson, but I am very curious to know what you think. Devlin says Purdy is sneaky athletic, 100%. 100%. Lamar running this offense will be insane. Okay, so Steve, you seem to be on the Lamar tip now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm kind of interested to know what you have to say. So Steve, Okay, would I trade for Joe Burrow instead? All right, so here's where I'm at, y'all. Here's where I'm at. I'm not trading for almost anyone now. I'm not trading for anybody. We're not in a position to. We blew that opportunity. We're not in a position to trade for anyone. The Lions need to. I truly don't believe that Brad is going to be able to fix this because of the hole that we're in. I just don't think Brad is going to be able to do it. But the Lions are not in a position to trade for anyone. We're just not. We're not anymore. So for me, I'm going to say nope. I do not think that the Lions trade for anybody. I think that our end to that was the end at the trade deadline of 2025. That is when that changed for me. Lamar is mad overrated as a QB. I know. I tell you what, man, his fan base, whoo-wee, they will go to war for Lamar, man. They will go to war for Lamar. Let me see. Steve, you know what? Steve, y'all gotta cut Steve some slack because Steve, he said a non-emotional answer, but Steve has been all over the place this year. All over the place. Like, he was a strong defender of Brad Holmes at the beginning of the season, and he's not so much anymore. We've had a lot of people that have changed their tune. Somebody by the name of Donkey Kong that is in the chat. I think on Lion Syndicate. Now he's talking about fire Brad Holmes when he was an avid defender of Brad Holmes. And I think that Brad Holmes has not given you anything to defend. He has not given you anything to defend this year. Burrow hurt too. You know what, Patty? 100%. One thing I can say about Burrow is hurt because he has no offensive line. That's his problem. He is not a runner. He's a scrambler. See, there is a difference. Goff is a pocket passer. So to me, you have like three different quarterbacks. You have the pocket passer, you have the scrambler, and then you have the running quarterback. So for me, that I would prefer, I mean, listen, if we had, would I mind if you can make plays with your legs? Yes. I mean, no, I wouldn't mind that. Only if you absolutely had to. Only if you absolutely had to. Guys that can run. I don't care if you shake people or spin people or if you can't get 10 yards when you run. Can you keep a play alive if your pocket breaks down and maybe pick up a couple of yards on a consistent basis? Then sure, fine. But I'm not going to get rid of Jared Goff for that. But Sheila said we need to change, so maybe. Come on, Steve. Steve, Steve, I'm going to need you to call and leave a voicemail, my brother. I need to hear your voice, bro. I need you to call and leave a 2-minute voicemail about your thoughts about this team. Shout out to Big Black Coffee with the super chat. Says, so why do you think Brad can't fix it? That is a great question. And I did a video a few days ago, literally titled, Can Holmes Fix It? And it was a dud. It was a dud. You guys are getting tired of talking about Brad Holmes. And I understand, but it's unfortunate because we are going to have those conversations for the foreseeable future. But I'm actually pulling up some things right now as to why I don't think Brad can fix it. The main reason is because of the time. But we'll talk about that in the segment. Goff has his moments, 5 interceptions in the Washington game. That's a concern. Okay. Matthew Stafford threw 3 in a couple games ago. He threw 3. Matthew Stafford is 1 pick 6 from owning the record of pick 6. And I think that he is going to own it because he's going to keep playing. So if he doesn't get it in the next couple of games, he will get it before he retires. So Jared Goff's interceptions don't bother me at all. They don't. They don't. Did you see the renderings of the new DC Stadium? Looks dope. No, I have not, but I know the old one is trash. He acts like, where are we at? Man, Goff has the same 40 time as Mahomes. Brad is a knucklehead. That's why. Okay, I read that. He acts like he's spending his own money. Brad, we need a backup who can throw, not just run like these QBs who are less accurate. Derek, there were times you roasted Goff. Many times you went off on him. Now you're switching up too. No, I did not. No, I roasted Goff when I had to. But you can go check the tape, Steve. You can go check the tape. The person that I roast is Brad Holmes. Goff is on there, but he like, a couple roast. It's not a lot. Shout out to C Pool with the super chat. Says, I would pass on McDaniel. His stubbornness to adjust his scheme hurt the Dolphins. He was 4-17 versus top defenses. His complicated routes take entirely too long. The stats and tape back up how I feel. Okay. All right. Let's do it. So most Lions fans, the majority that I have come across, they want Mike McDaniel, that he's their number one candidate for OC. Now, if you've been following Detroit Lions news, which I'm sure you have, the Lions have brought in a ton of people. They brought in Arthur Smith as of late. They brought in David Blau. They brought in a ton of people. And one of the names that is at the top of the list is Mike McDaniel. Well, C Pool has a concern. He says, I would pass on McDaniel. His stubbornness to adjust his scheme hurt the Dolphins. He was 4-17 versus top 10 defense. His complicated routes take entirely too long. The stats and tape back up how I feel. Well, C Pool, how I love stats, bro. I love them, and I think that they don't lie. But I think they can be a little bit deceiving. However, in the case of Mike McDaniel, if that is the case, and I only say that because I didn't go check it myself, but I'm going to take your word for it. If that is the case, then I still believe that Mike McDaniel would be a good fit. He would just have to adjust. Maybe that one of the things that got him fired was his stubbornness. Dan Campbell said, it's only failure if you don't learn from it. So did Mike McDaniel learn from his failure with the Miami Dolphins? That sometimes you have to change. Now, I agree. If the routes are taking too long, you've got to shorten them up. Because one thing that we have to shore up is our offensive line. So if you're doing all these, you know what I'm worried about? The motion. I'm worried about the motion. Like all that motion Tyreek Hill was doing and other things, that's what I'm kind of concerned about that. But I tell you what, if Mike McDaniel going to be the person that the Lions hire, then they need to do it as soon as possible. Because we'll have an OC, in my opinion. I feel like we'll have one by the end of the month. That's what I believe. So we got 2 weeks to find one. The Lions have been doing so much research in the last, almost 2 weeks since the season's been over, that I would find it hard to believe that they don't have somebody that they're eyeballing and could bring in the next 15 days. So we still have 15 days in the month, and I think that he could be here. Let me see. When you Arthur Smith, oh my God, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, that's a guy I'm not really fond on. So I'm going to say that. So I'll fix that, Fave, like I always do. There's always a typo somewhere. So one thing that I would say is that when it comes to Mike McDaniel, I mean, you can always adapt. And we talked about evolving and adapting, right? That is the theme. So instead of grit and all of this stuff, Lions need to have evolve. They need to put evolve, adapt, move forward. As a matter of fact, I should make those into shirts because that's what the new mantra should be. All grit, it takes more. More is not enough. Whatever they had, they need to change it. Evolve, adapt, move forward, progress, progression. Those things need to be. So when it comes to Mike McDaniel, C Pool, I get your concerns, and those are valid concerns. But I still think that he would be a pretty decent fit for what we do. But how much is he going to adapt? Maybe that's one of the things that got him fired. Maybe he has to learn. Maybe he comes here because I think that anybody that just got fired, when they come here and they go to their second or their next opportunity, they're going to have, you were fired for a reason, right? So all of these coaches were fired for a reason. So are they going to continue to do those things that got them fired, or are they going to evolve and adapt and move forward? So I don't know. I think those are legit concerns though, but I'm not really tripping on that because I think that he could definitely kind of adapt and evolve. Arthur Smith looks like a Walmart version of John Morton. That is funny. Zach Robinson, I feel, would be an excellent choice. Well, see, everyone is they have their different opinions because some people don't really like Zach. Some people are concerned about Mike McDaniel. Some people are concerned about Arthur Smith. Has there been a candidate that you think supersedes everyone else? Because we had David Blau, we had that whole situation. Now, I want to bring something out that I think it's why Mike McDaniel is still probably the best choice and the logical choice. So those of you who know, Matt Ryan, the former quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, he was working for CBS, and then he took a job that they created. The Atlanta Falcons created this job for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was introduced a couple days ago or yesterday. One of the things that he said is he does not want a first-time head coach. He thinks that it should be someone who's done it before. One of the names that came up was Robert Saleh. So if Matt Ryan understands that you don't need a first-time OC, that's what I think the Detroit Lions understand, or you don't need a first-time head coach. I think the Lions know that too. That's why we weren't going to take David Blah. I just don't believe it. Any first-time coordinator, I just don't see how the Detroit Lions, with their jobs on the line, could take that. They could take a risk on a guy who's never called plays before. Because if you have the year that you had in 2025, you are going to have the reaction to that is going to be insane. So I understand, Pool, your frustration. I think that he can adapt, evolve, and move forward. So let me know what you guys think. All right, I see the super chat, Rufus. Let me fix this. Where's the new edit at? I guess I'll go back to the mainstream. Hold on, let me do this. I'll go back to the mainstream. I will go, nope. They used to have an edit button, man. You could edit. Y'all be catching everything, though. I appreciate that. My wife is like that. She catches everything, man. And that's the first thing she got to do is point it out. But I appreciate it, though. When you get old, man, you start, yeah. I was doing way too much. There we go. All right, so we'll put that in there. Now it's correct. Now it is correct. You'd be surprised how many people don't read titles either. All right, let me bring back up so I can pop out and read this super chat. All right, shout out to Rufus. Rufus says, what's up, big dog? I'm curious, could you run a poll on what feels worse this weekend? Man, the Bears winning or the Rams winning? Okay, all right. We talked about that the other day, and I think I was going to run a poll. I can 100% do that, and I will do that for and I'll let it run for 30 minutes. Okay, so I'll put this. What would be worse? Okay, let me make sure that I read it. Okay. What would be worse this weekend? Okay. Rams winning or the Bears winning? Okay. Hold on. Man, I tell you what, this offseason stuff, I'm like, bruh. It's a tough thing to do. Off-season content is a tough thing to do. Okay. And we're going to start that poll, especially early off-season where there's nothing happening. So, while I think everything starts to pick up after the season ends. All right. Before we had first rounders picks on our old line. Okay. So we had 4 first rounders. Who was number 4? Neither. I got love for Stafford. I got love for Stafford and Ben. The Bears definitely 100% Stafford winning the Super Bowl. Okay, I said this the other day. For me, I'm picking Stafford. I think Stafford winning is more than a slap in the face. I think, Ben Johnson winning is it's like a slap in the face to this regime. Stafford winning, Big Black, man, that's crazy. Stafford winning is a slap in the organization. So that's why I think Stafford would be worse. Big Black with the super chat, $50, bro. That will last the rest of the show for sure. Says if Sheila really is dying, if Sheila really is dying to win, She would allow Brad to restructure Golf, Panay, and St. Brown that will require money, upfront money, to be paid immediately in bonuses. I think Brad can rebuild this team if he changes his ways. He's a good evaluator of talent. Okay, everything you said in there is perfect, and that's to answer your earlier question. All right, so I got distracted with the search, the fact that I had to correct that. Okay, so why do I think that it's going to be very difficult for Brad Holmes to turn it around? Okay, so this is why I think that, but I also think what you said, like something has to give. Something has to give. The Lions have to do something because they have no money. They have no money. So they have to create some. And this might be why we're not negative, because of the new cap, the addition to the cap. You know how they add like 25 million every year, somewhere around there. This might be why we're not negative, because early on we were supposed to be negative 27, 21, 27, somewhere around there. So I think that everything you said is exactly right. The problem is, has Brad dug a deep enough hole that he cannot get out in 2 years? So I hope the Bills win it all. I have the Texans and Seahawks. So here would be the greatest kind of Super Bowl scenario to me, is the Texans getting there and either the Bears or Rams winning it. I think the Lions, that would be great, because what I want is a metaphorical brick to the face of the Lions organization. That I want you to take not a fake prop brick, an actual brick, and I want it to just be smashed over the face of the metaphorical face of the Lions organization. This team is a disgrace. It really is, man. Look, I am not going to hold it back anything. This team is a disgrace. Anyone who was satisfied with this team this year is disgraceful. And to me, all the magic that Brad Holmes was able to work, that has been thrown in the garbage because of this year. 125%. 125%, bro. This team is a disgrace. It really is. You are going to because once the Texans get there, can you imagine? Because ain't nothing worse than the Houston Texans, who were created in the early 2000s. Now, keep this in mind. When the Lions were the Lions, we were like 20 years removed from horseback riding. Like, real talk. You know what I'm saying? 1914, people were still probably riding horses, bro. And in 1934, when the Lions became the Detroit Lions, we was on the bikes with the big wheel that you needed to step on something to get onto the bike. Like, that's where we was at, bro. Whatever you call that bike, like the first bike, that's where we were. Top of the morning to you. And we're like this with the hat on and a cigar and a little mono lens thing. That's what we were doing with a pocket watch. You know what I'm saying? The Houston Texans, they've been around for not even 30 years, bro. It ain't even been 30 years. And if they make the Super Bowl, slap in the face. Now you take the Lions side, the NFC side. If the Bears go or Stafford goes, that's a kick. Stafford is a kick in the face to the organization. Ben Johnson is a kick in the face to the regime. The Texans are also a kick in the face to the organization. So for me, that's why I think Stafford would be worse, 100%. Yes, Nico Collins is out, but they got Xavier Hutchinson. They got some guys. I still think they can win that game. Lions passed on promoting Ben Johnson to head coach and instead kept Dan Campbell. Are we a unicycle? That's what it is. Are we really doing that? Are we really doing that? Are we really doing like that whole Ben Johnson for Dan Campbell? Is that really a thing? Y'all really? This is crazy to me. Okay, let's get back. All right. So I made a video about this the other day. Nobody watched it, but hopefully this one has a little bit of a different life. We got a $50 super chat from Big Black Coffee, and he mentioned something. I had mentioned I don't know if Brad has time to fix the hole that he's dug himself in. Does he have time to crawl out of it with the position, good and bad, that he put the Lions in? And here is why I don't know if Brad has the time to fix it. I will say this. Without a complete change in strategy, if he does not evolve, a word that we've heard from all three, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and Sheila Hamp, if he does not evolve, he won't come close to fixing this. Why do I think it's going to be difficult for Brad Holmes to fix this? And what I mean by, here's the definition of fix this. You have 2 years left on your deal, both you and Dan Campbell. I think Dan is safer than Brad, but for the sake of this argument, they both have 2 years left on their deal. Okay. That's what I mean by time. So as of right now, and it does not appear that Sheila it is a priority at this moment to extend either one of the gentlemen this season or off season. So we're looking at best case scenario this time next year. And Sheila is waiting on something more to see if she's going to do that. So after you start taking projects and you start getting cute with your signings in free agency and your project picks, now you have dug yourself and literally dug your own grave. Can you get out of it in enough time? Here's why I'm not sure it could happen. I just don't know if Brad Holmes can do it. Let's take a look at the offensive side, just off the top of the dome, offensive side of the ball. What's our biggest weakness? Offensive line. The offensive line is our biggest weakness. Taylor Decker may or may not retire. Even if he doesn't, if he doesn't retire, he buys us one more year. Whether or not Taylor Decker retires this season, it is a guarantee he will retire next season, like 100%. So let's just assume he does. Now you have to fill the left tackle. Do you move Panay over there, or do you draft or sign a free agent tackle? Okay. If you do that, then you have to do something with the right? So whatever happens with the left, if you move Panay over there, then you need a right tackle. Center. Brad Holmes has already come out and said it's probably not going to be Tate. So if Tate is guard, then who's center? Are you drafting that center, or are you signing one in free agency? If you draft a starting center, are you going to use pick 17 on a starting first-round center? Ironically, that would be just in between, really, Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow. Taylor was 16, Frank was 20. So that would be something. All right. Offensive side of the ball, okay, we're going to need a couple more receivers probably. But outside of that, and once we figure out what's happening with David Montgomery, the offense is pretty much set. Get that offensive line back to where it was and get a receiver and keep David Montgomery. Okay, so now, so what would you say on the offensive line? You're going to need 1 to 2 pieces. Graham is leaving, so you're going to need at least 1 to 2, maybe 3 pieces. A wide receiver and maybe a running back, which would be stupid to me. You already have one on the roster. The defensive side of the ball. That's where it hits the fan. You got 5 defensive linemen, 5 under contract. 5, that's it. 5 defensive linemen under contract. You are losing Alex Anzalone. You are losing Amik Robertson. You don't know what is happening with Kirby Joseph or Brian Branch or even Terrion Arnold. So the defensive side of the ball is the problem. You gave up a 3rd-round pick for Tesla, offensive side of the ball. So where are you going to get the capital and where are you going to get the money? So you have to hope and try to restructure your contracts, because if you don't do that, you're not going to have any money. This is coming from Spot Track. All right. They've already done the math. They have already done the math for the 2026 Detroit Lions. Here is what everything is looking like for the 2026 Detroit Lions. Go down to 125. The 2026 Detroit Lions 2026 financial summary. Now, this will begin when the new league year starts. Total cap, $321 million. Total cap space, $2.4 million. That's it. Dead cap, not that bad. Not that bad, really. On the active roster, we have 48 players that are being paid, I suppose. Now, I thought it was 38, but it's 40. Oh, because we just signed. That's right. We brought in some future reserves, and that's right. So that's why the number is now up to 48, because we signed Ahmed Hassanin. So now we have gone up. Okay. So what I meant is people that are not on future reserve deals or whatever, which is where a couple of these defensive linemen are. Now, from cap hit down, this is how this is sorted. Here's the big ones. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aleem McNeil, Penei Sewell. Taylor Decker is number 5. If he goes, he will create some money that we can use. DJ Reed, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Barnes, so on and so forth, right? Graham will probably be cut. David Montgomery is number 10. If we lose him, that's just insane to me. That's just ridiculous. So not only are you working with, this is going into the new league year. So this is no restructures, no cuts, none of that stuff. Now we know that some cuts will probably happen. There's no doubt about it. But what are those cuts going to be? How much money are we going to save? If we restructure, like Big Black was saying, then that'll create some space. But in the meantime, even with those restructures, those cuts, whatever the situation, you now have a very limited time to make this work. If you ask me, I think that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell combined, they need to 90%. They need to be in the 90 percentile in free agent signings and draft acquisitions across the board. Free agent, like they have to have an A+ off season. You cannot have a D draft. You cannot have a D. What if you get a D this semester and a D next semester, you getting a D. Back when I would tell you a story. When I was in 12th grade, I had a really tough time getting up in the morning. All right. You had mandatory classes that you had to take. Mine in 12th grade was econ. And and when you were 15 minutes late or more, and I took the public bus, this is back in the day, right? So I took the public bus. When you were late, you got locked out of the school. Now, if it was cold, they would let you in. They would let you go to the auditorium. You could not go to your class. If you were 15 minutes late, you could not go to that class. You were absent. So I was so bad that I wind up failing the first semester. Teacher calls my dad, said, hey, the best, because they combine your grades. So if you get an F and you get an A, you ended the semester with a C. Now, I don't know if they do that anymore, but that's how they did it in the 90s. So my teacher calls and she says, hey, Derek can pass. He cannot miss any more classes. If he does, it has to be, life or death. He has to do extra credit, all of that stuff, because this is a mandatory class. If you fail this class, you fail. You had to take, I don't know if it's the same now, but it was like that back in the day. So needless to say, I hustled, I did my thing, and I passed. Extra credit, the whole 9. Did whatever. Newspaper, I had to cut out newspaper clippings, all of that, and do these assignments, man. I made it. That's the kind of thing that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are going to have to do to get a passing grade. The first half of their tenure, A. The second half is an F. I'll say a D. I'll give them a D+. I'll give the second half a D+. So now you got an A, now you got a D+. So now, what is that? A C? A C+, maybe? You're just now passing? And you know how they're just now passing? By not getting fired. So they're hanging on right now. So can he do it? He probably can. But he has to be flawless. In free agency, in the draft, he cannot miss. You cannot miss with the Broderick Martin 2.0. You cannot miss with trading for Donovan Peoples-Jones. You cannot miss by cutting a guy under contract for no reason, like you did with, think about this, you cut Zadarius Smith. Whether or not he retired is irrelevant, because who knows what would have happened if he was here. You cut Zadarius Smith just not to replace him, and you did not even spend the money. You really didn't spend it. And now you're talking about potentially doing the same thing with David Montgomery. Hence why I would want Brad Holmes immediately fired, and I'm going to stand on business. So, can he fix it? Can he fix it? Yes, he can, if he's perfect. He has to be flawless. in order to get this right, because he does not have a lot of time. If Sheila does not see what she wants to see after this year, ain't no extension coming. And now Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell part of that too right now. He don't have an extension either. And then we're going to see both or one right off into the sunset of another team. Let me know what you think in the comments below. They deserve E's, not D's. Hey, I was just being a little, I was being a little gracious. You know what I'm saying? I was being just a little gracious. You heard? That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying, Mike. So that's where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of this. But I would love to know where you are. Oyster, what up, though? What's going on? Failure is failure, and the last 2 drafts have been horrible. Yeah. So why move Routledge to center? He clearly doesn't want. Wait. So why move Routledge to center? He clearly said he doesn't want to try to force him. Who said he was? Let me see. Hey, look. Hey, Dolo. So check this out. So there was my bus stop was about 50 yards away from my house. And there was nothing worse than you missed the DOT. So all I had to do was leave the house, lock the door. I would go out the front door, lock the door. I could see the bus stop from my house. 50 yards tops. It might be a little, maybe 60 yards. And all you heard was, nyeh. How many of y'all? So I lived, if you familiar with Detroit, so if you West Side, I lived off Greenfield, West Chicago. So there's an Omega, Coney Island. There's a Church's on the corner. Those two been there forever. You got a gas station over here. I think, no, CVS. I don't know if it's still there. And then you had a gas station on the corner. So it was like a cornerstone and stuff, right? So I take off. You would hear the bus. I would start I would start just boom, I'm running. Backpack shaking, running. I had to run 3 blocks to get to the next bus stop. And my hope was that the lights at Greenfield and West Chicago caught the bus. Then I would run across the street and get on over there. But if you missed that joint, you was hit. You were toast. If you missed that boy, you were 100% toast, man. Like 100%. So, but y'all know. Y'all know what it is. Hold on, let me see. Come on, dog. Devlin says the Zarius thing still baffles me. Brad embarrassed himself. And you know what was terrible, man? His Lions fans were like, wait, Brad is the GOAT. He predicted, he saw the future, and he knew Zadarius Smith was going to retire. I'm like, dog, enough. No, look, for everybody that want to praise Brad Holmes and all the decision-making he makes, think about this. You know what really lines up to me is Zadarius Smith wanted to be in Detroit. Do you okay, so coincidences, right? Coincidences are rare. I say this all the time. I looked up the word coincidence, and it is kind of like, it's not a common thing that happens, right? A coincidence is not like a common thing. They're not supposed to be common. So I'm saying, so you don't think it's a coincidence that Zadarius Smith comes out and says he wants to come back to Detroit. The entire offseason, the whole thing, he does not sign anywhere. Well, why hasn't Zadarius Smith signed anywhere, man? How come people didn't want him, man? And we don't know what conversations were had behind the scenes. How about Zadarius Smith was telling people no? Because guess what? He had no problem getting signed right after that. So fast forward now to Marcus Davenport. And look, I told y'all, man, I had a person reach out to me who was or is, well, he's related. He was related to the person that Zadarius was seeing. He was related to somebody. It was either Zadarius or Cash Dow. And they reached out to me, and I don't know if they were legit, and they told me that Zadarius was upset. He was mad. He felt disrespected. The same stuff I was saying, the same way I would have felt. That's the same thing. You cut me. You re-signed a guy who did nothing for your team, and that was a slap in the face. Then you fast forward the entire offseason. It was not until Dan Campbell, and I know Dan Campbell, the one that said we're good. I don't care. Brad said it. They both said it. If one said, they both said. That's where they at. So, and Brad didn't have to say the words we're good. He showed that we're good. Because you can't, just like, and look, this is why I want Brad Holmes fired if you trade or cut David Montgomery, because you're doing it again. You're saying we're good, and we weren't good. And then this is the point that I will stop believing in Brad. And he will have to win a Super Bowl to make me believe again. There's nothing else he can do. If you cut David Montgomery, who's already on the roster, you cut him just to have to replace him, which means that, are you going to do a lateral move? Let me ask you this. Who would be, in your opinion, a lateral move for the Detroit Lions to sign or draft? I'm not really on the draft like that. If we cut David Montgomery, who would be lateral? Not an upgrade, not a downgrade, but a lateral move. Who would you want them to sign to be lateral? Let me see. Sheila said she was proud of the way our roster was built. I mean, Gallup, so am I. I'm proud of the first 2.5 years. I mean, it's awesome. But the second half, so yeah, she gonna say that type of stuff. And that's perfectly fine. Crisscross, I missed the bus. My cousin grew up on Winthrop and oh, that's crazy, bro. Not too far from me. Not too far from me. Yeah, so there was a the DOT, bro, and it was crazy because at first, so like you had to pay. What happened? I had to pay for the bus. And then I think as I was nearing graduation, it was like either a bus pass or you got like this discount from, you could buy a pass from school. Man, look, I've been out of school for 29 years, out of high school, and I can't remember what it was, but my wife we went to the same school. She used to catch the bus as well. So I gotta ask her, but what did you used to have to do? Like I used to have to pay, and it was like, what, 35 cents, something like that. You would drop you a little change in there or whatever. Let me see. DOT bus stop was right on my corner. Yeah, pretty much mine too, man. It was about 60 yards from me. DOT bus stop. Did you see what Ben Johnson said about David Blau? I heard, I saw it. I don't care. I literally retweeted, shut up. Nobody's talking to you. Like, I don't care what you think. Who cares what you think, bro? If we cut Monty, I'm going to be mad. You should be. You should be. Art says no reason to get rid of Monty. I'm with you on that one. And that's what I was saying. So Dolo says draft Nicholas Singleton, running back, Penn State. Okay, Dolo, what draft do you expect him to go, and where would you expect us to get him? If you are saying, okay, so David Blau better not turn out to be good. Easy does it. Who cares? Who cares if he turned out to be good? That's a risk that the Lions were to take. But let me ask you this. If he turns out to be good, great. But if he doesn't, then now you're catching slack. The Lions are in a lose-lose situation. But one would really make them look bad. It's if you try to get David Blau and then he sucked, David Blau is going to, based off what happened with John Morton, every move you make. And that goes with anybody that we sign. McDaniel, Peels or Pease, whatever his name is, the dude from Seattle, Arthur Smith. Like, you cannot get this wrong. So David Blau could be the best thing that ever happened. He could be the worst thing that ever happened. I tell you what, I don't care what Ben Johnson has to say. You a snake. Let me see. I want Brad fired if we trade Monty. David, I've already said that. I already said that. No, so I'm asking, what would be the point for David Montgomery to be traded or cut? Give me your example. As a matter of fact, here's what we're going to do. How long do we have? Dang, we out of time. Dog, we are out of time. And I didn't even get to the dang, bro. Well, I got to get to this. All right, so let me write this down. Because David Montgomery posted something on his IG. He'd been doing that. Somebody tagged me on Twitter yesterday. Was like, yo, did you see David Montgomery's IG? And I follow him, but I didn't really see it. All right, so let me see. Monty. Let me write this down. Maybe we'll have a hire so I can remember to talk about this on Monday. Because we got to talk about this next. All right. Tom, who are you, bro? See, Tom, I'll let you slide, bro. Where's my money? Hold on, let me wait. Put y'all some elevator music real quick. Tom, when you comment again, I want my money, bro. I'll give them out a minute. After the chorus, the first chorus, we'll continue the show. Opportunity. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if you comment again, bro, and it ain't it don't have a super chat with it, you out of here, bro. 100%. So you better come in with my money, or you better come in knowing it's gonna be your last time. I can't stand Bears fans. They talk entirely too much, bro. All right, so let's get into this last segment. Next time, and I am dead serious, bro. Like, real talk. Okay. The Detroit Lions have to fix their team. And they are going to be, there's a lot of things that they're going to have to do in order to make that happen. Brad Holmes, we talked about them not missing in the draft and free agency. This is a situation where they cannot miss because the past 2.5 years have not been that great. From re-signing Marcus Davenport to re-signing, we've had Emmanuel Mosley re-signings. I mean, some of them worked out. You could say DJ Reader worked out, although in my opinion, this was a lackluster year from DJ Reader. Marcus Davenport was an absolute tragedy. That is a fireable offense in my opinion. So now we're on year 3. And if Brad Holmes was to do it, I would immediately fire him. 100%. That is re-sign Marcus Davenport. Also, cutting David Montgomery, trading David Montgomery is also a fireable offense. 125%. Brad Holmes is on super thin ice, like that thin ice that you really shouldn't be on because spring is coming and it ain't as froze as it used to be. All right. So with that being the case, we have had some conversations about making this team better in the offseason. And what will the Detroit Lions have to do that? Well, I'm going to share a clip with you. Now, the resolution is not that great. I did not watch this podcast, so I actually don't know where the timestamp is, but shout out to the big homie that sent this to me. It came through email, so in order to land in my email, it had to lower the resolution. But here's what, when they talked about St. Brown, him and his brother on the podcast that they run, here's what he had to say about free agency, and I think that this is very telling. Let's take a listen.
Are the Lions appealing for free agents next year?
I think the Lions are always appealing, especially, with the guys we got. Like, we're always, especially with Dan, we're appealing to anybody.
Yeah, you guys need. Yeah, I want to see you guys make some good moves in free agency. Honestly, like
you and me both.
Yeah, I do. I feel like you guys will be good next year. You guys you guys are rebuilding. It's fine.
First of all, St. Brown, only thing I got to say, bro, is what is the workout routine? All right. What you need to start your own workout plan, bro, because that's crazy. Shoulders is ridiculous, bro. I thought my shoulder anyway. So that's the first thing. But notice what he said. As Equinemius said, you got to make some moves in free agency. And St. Brown said, you and me both. That's what we want to see. Now, that was a subtle jab, or not so subtle jab, in my opinion, about the moves that's being made. Now, St. Brown, he gets paid. His job is to run a route, block, and catch the football. His job is not to put the team together. That is Brad Holmes' job and Dan Campbell's. But you and me both, not just any free agency moves, but the ones that's going to take this team to the next level. And we've already discussed why the Detroit Lions are going to have a tough time doing that. Because when you look at the market of availability, Trey Hendrickson is at the top of the list. I don't know if Khalil Mack is a free agent, but Trey headlines the list of available free agent edge rushers. Notice I haven't talked about an edge rusher in a long time because we have more pressing matters. As these, we already, the edge rusher window, in my opinion, exclusively has passed. Now we still need an edge rusher because we're losing two of them. One didn't matter anyway. One is going to get what he's valued, but we have more pressing. Our quarterback, in order for our defense to be impactful, our offense has to be able to do something. And I would prefer for our quarterback to be upright. That's what I would prefer. And the Lions need a offensive line. They've got at least two holes that they have to plug. All right. You may or may not have to do left tackle. And then if you do that, is Penei Sewell the left tackle, then you need a right tackle, but you definitely need a center. There is a possibility that Taylor Decker returns for his last hurrah, because next year will be that. He has one more year left on his deal, and whether or not he toughs, and maybe he does tough it through. If that happens, we need a center. That would take some pressure off Brad, but it also eats up some cap space. All right, because Taylor is number 5 on the list of highest cap hits for 2026. Yes, Taylor Decker is right beneath Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jared Goff. So, Amon-Ra St. Brown said, you and me both. 4 words that are super impactful to me. No more Marcus Davenports, no more Josh Pascals, no more Levi's, no more Emmanuel Mosley's, no more of those guys. The time for those guys is over. And so for Amon-Ra St. Brown to say this and just leave it at that, that says a lot to me. It says a whole lot. What do you guys think it says to you in the comment section? If we had a good DE opposite Aiden, it would transform our defense, just one player. Well, you know what, man? I think that we are a little bit beyond that now. I think we are beyond that. I do. Because of the fact that we're losing Alex Anzalone. We don't know what's happening with Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. I mean, we don't know if Kirby, we don't know right now. We have no clue. All we know that this injury is not going anywhere. It will be there forever. But there was a time that we were talking about ending. It could be career ending, like career altering, career ending. And so I don't know. For me and Kirby Joseph, I have to wait and see. Brian Branch, what's the timeline of his Achilles? I know I saw something from Patrick Mahomes, and he was talking about that he wants to be ready week 1. Now, it was a different injury. One was the knee, one was the ankle. But where is Brian Branch going to fit in? Is he going to have kind of like that soon recovery? He could be ready to go by training camp or week 1, or is he going to be more of that 12-month type recovery period? I don't know. When Kirby Joseph gets out there, is he going to be the same? So, got a lot of stuff to do. And you had an opportunity going into 2023. You know what's funny to me is Lions fans, they like to use the word rebuild. In 2023, it was year 3 of a rebuild. You guys were so patient with this regime that we're halfway through. At this point, they hadn't earned a contract extension. And Lions fans were, oh, it's okay. We're in year 3 of a rebuild. Oh, we're in year 3 of a rebuild. We make it to the NFC Championship game. A lot of the responses that I was seeing were, okay, well, you know, this is just the beginning. We got a lot. This is just the beginning, man. We coming. It's been 2 years and we've gone down. See, not a lot of people probably have paid attention to that because we had 15-2, but we literally, it was higher than 12-5. But as far as distance in the playoffs, we didn't go anywhere. We had a first seed, not a single playoff win. So we did more in that 1 year of 2023 than we have the last 2 years. Lions do not have a playoff win in 2 years. Think about that. Think about that. We just left 30, and now it's already been 2. And then I think another reason, that's why St. Brown said what he said. That's why Sheila said what she said, because you blink your eye, and it's already been the Lions. Think about that. You probably didn't even think about that, did you? That the Lions had 2 playoff wins in 1 year after going 30 with none. And it's already been 2. But you, quiet as it's kept, you weren't really paying attention to that. Because we made the playoffs last year. We were the first seed. We didn't win the playoff game. Now you're like, okay, this year we didn't even make the playoffs. Now it's all of a sudden it's 2 years. That 2 years could turn into 4, could turn into 10. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But one way it doesn't happen is if the team gets better. So St. Brown, what do you think about it? What do you think about his words, man? I think a lot of these words, we're going to be reading in between the lines from a lot of offseason situations. Let me know what you think. All right, James with the super chat, appreciate you, big dog, says they better get his OC hire right if they ever want to be contenders again. I think they are going to get it right, and I think that that's one of the reasons that they're bringing in all of these people. I mean, they fired Johnny Morton and was like instantly on David Blau. And David Blau could be the next Ben Johnson or the first David Blau, whatever you want to say. He could be those things. To me, that is not a risk that you can take in year 6 of a 7-year deal. This is not year 2. When Anthony Lynn did not work very early on, you saw that. What did you do? You went and you elevated Ben Johnson. That was year 2. This is year 6. That was pre-extension. This is on the extension. These guys are running out of time, man. And you're going to blink your eye. It's going to be December. It's going to be January 2027. And we're going to be having a conversation based on what happened in 2026. What happens with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes? I'm telling you, I told y'all in the offseason last year that this was a critical year for this regime. I think next year is even bigger because of how we failed this season overall. Saint speaking facts, he knows what needs to be done. I'm Salty says, fact is, in 5 years, they have 2 playoff wins. Wow. Is that good for everyone, or do you expect more? You know what, Salty? That's an even different way for putting it. Like 100%. Same thing. Same thing. I think that to me, the last 2 years is worse than the 5 combined, because in year 1, you expected exactly what we got. Like, you knew we were going to suck. It just was what it was. We were just glad to get rid of Patricia. In 2021, you had higher hopes, but you didn't know if we were going, like, you kind of still trying to figure these guys out, see what they did. Because I was still learning Brad Holmes. I was still learning Dan Campbell. Now I know Brad Holmes. I know who Brad Holmes is. Brad Holmes is this close from being the guy that's going to get replaced by the guy that actually takes us all the way. That's where he's right there. That's what that shaky press conference was. That was telling you, yo, Brad, I'm telling you, man, Sheila might not have done publicly what Carly Ursay did, but she said something. She said something, believe it or not. She said something. At least 2 division wins, we should look at Brad Holmes. I'm tired of watching expansion teams win playoff games and we fight each other about drafts and who we should get in the offseason. You know what, Salty? That's a good point, bro. And I don't understand why Lions fans are the way that they are when we ain't won nothing. When we ain't won nothing. However, I will say that, again, and we're going to talk about this more and more as the offseason progresses, that overall, I think that this was a better situation. This was what needed to happen. I truly believe that this is what needed to happen. That the team had to fall. That's what I believe. I believe that the Lions had to fall, and they had to fall this year. They had to fall because, as the great Alfred Pennyworth said in Batman Begins, we got to learn to pick ourselves up. And this is we're going to learn a lot about Brad Holmes, because I feel like I already know Brad. I feel like I already know about Matthias and what he trying to do. And I think that we're going to see that this is it. Like, the reason I'm so bent, and we'll wrap up the show because I'm on overtime right now. The reason that I'm so steadfast on my opinion about Brad Holmes is because I have sat patiently and I have waited to see what you were going to do. I have waited. And in 2023, I'm still trying to get to know you. Okay, cool. We got these first round picks from Stafford. We're talking about, okay, now nobody really expected them to trade out of the first round or trade away a first round pick, but you had an opportunity that you could have traded a first round pick and still had one. Maybe we look at what the Houston Texans did. The Houston Texans traded up to get Will Anderson Jr. And Will Anderson Jr., along with the rest of the moves that the Houston Texans have made to go with Salty's point, that's how you get there. And so I'm like, oh, I'm for years, I'm like, oh, does Brad Holmes, I don't know if he, remember when it was cute not knowing what Brad Holmes wanted to do? Remember, it was like, oh, man, we got a GM that you can't figure out, man. He going to come and he going to swoop in and he going to do this and blah, and he fleeced my man with TJ Hawkinson and he fleeced my man with Jameson Williams. He fleeced, right? And now we're like, oh, I know who Brad Holmes is now. I know who he is. And if this team is the same on May 1st of 2026, I will make my final determination on what I feel Brad Holmes is. Like, to me, and I already have a good idea of who he is. And I think that he's in trouble. Of course, because that's usually how it works. That's usually how that works. So for me, I am at the point where Brad Holmes is going to have to do something. He's going to have to do something, and I don't know if he can get out of the hole that he's in. So that's going to be the show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys. We will be back on Monday. We'll be talking about, are the Bears or the Rams going to the NFC Championship game? Let me put that in. Rams, Bears. Maybe we'll have an OC by then. Maybe we won't. I am not too sure about that. But we're definitely going to have some conversations about this. So we'll see how things go and go from there. Do you think Aleem is worth the amount of money? Doesn't seem like he's a difference maker. Maybe I'm missing something. You know what, Oyster? I will make that determination after this year. I can't be that hard on Lee McNeil missing most of the year. I think that he was worth it until that point, so I'm going to reserve judgment on him until then. Unlike Hutch, the only reason Hutch was able to come back as fast as he was in essentially less than a year is because Hutch had hardware put in his body. If Hutch doesn't get that hardware put in there, he might have taken as long, like a solid year to where he can get back on the field again. So I will hold on to that. All right. Will says, we may be a hot take, but a part of me is happy we missed the playoffs because if we made it and got bounced in the first round, nothing would have changed. Brad would have said, well, we made the playoffs. See, I hear you, bro. And I kind of disagree with that. I think overall you are correct, though, that it was the best decision for this team to miss the playoffs. It was the wake-up call that this team needed. But I also believe that getting anywhere less, like you already didn't win the division. So that's regression. Your record was not 12-5 or 15-2 or anywhere. You didn't even get to 10 wins. So that's regression, right? So not 15-2 or 12. Like you're just think about this. We had 6 more wins last year and 3 more the year before that. We were essentially 1 win away from pretty much making the playoffs. So I think that Brad would have tried to use that as an excuse, but I don't think Sheila would have bought it. I'm telling you, man, I believe in Sheila. I think Sheila is trying to get this thing done. I really do. So with that being the case, man, I appreciate y'all. Enjoy football tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll see if we're talking about before that. What teams do you guys think are going to? Man, what teams do you think are going to win tomorrow or this weekend? I don't even know the matchups. I know it's Bears and Rams. And then it is, okay, let me pull it up. I have been so disconnected, man. Like, I've legit been disconnected from football. It's crazy. All right. Let me see. Let's look up NFL, and I will give you my predictions, I guess. I really don't. All right, 49ers and Seahawks in Seattle. I'm going to take the Seahawks to win that game. I think losing Kittle is giant. So I'm going to take the Seahawks to win that game. Bills and Broncos in Denver. I'm going to take the Broncos. Texans and Patriots. That's the one I cannot call. Bears and Rams. I know it's going to be cold, right? That's crazy. Just think 2 years ago, this was us. 2 years ago, man. It was us, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, 49ers. All right, got to make a choice. I'm going to take the Patriots, the Broncos, the Seahawks, and the Rams. That's what I'm going to take. I don't really want to see the Bears in the NFC. Hey, Don, either way it go, bro, it's going to be a burn. Either way it goes, my brother, it's going to be a burn, man. And your team going to get fried. Your team is going to get fried, my brother. All right, with that being the case, man, I appreciate y'all. I will see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a great weekend. If you're local, to me, it is snowing, and it snowed yesterday. And I knew back in November when we got snow that it was going to be that type of year, and it is definitely there. So with that being the case, man, I will see y'all Monday. Go Lions. We should be playing. It feels weird.
And I'm pissing off the neighbors. Whether home grown or imported, we feeling shorted, cause we waiting on our paper. So next time when they ask you where you from, you gon' say Detroit City, where we get back on our feet. Next time when they ask you where you from, you gon' say Detroit City when we get back on our feet. Yeah, you don't know about the D, you don't know about the streets. Cause when you're in the motor city, nothing is as pretty as the hustle. You don't know about the D, you don't know about the streets. Cause when you're in the motor city, everything ain't pretty but it's love though. Next time when they ask you where you from, you gon' say Detroit City when we get back on our feet. Next time when they ask you where you from, you gon' say Detroit City when we get back on our feet. Yeah.